Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique real estate firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing consultants who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my real estate team member, Mary Baker, and I, along with the director of Boston Connect Real Estate, Melissa Wallace, provide you with our unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We like to mix it up sometimes, so not only will you hear our perspective on real estate topics, but you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of some of our real estate agents at Boston Connect Real Estate and the preferred professionals that we trust. Be part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team or one of the dedicated agents at Boston Connect Real Estate to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Mary Baker, and I'm joined in studio here with my lovely team member, Sharon McNamara.
I'm lovely tonight, am I? Well, hey, I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm tripping over my Invisalign over here.
I was talking to the dentist the other day because I had my Invisalign appointment, and I said, yeah, she's slurring all her words. She's like, she can take it out.
I think it's getting worse.
No, she said you can take it out during the show if you wanted to, so feel free.
Thanks for the permission.
So you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Again, you have Sharon and Mary here tonight. Unfortunately, Melissa isn't able to join us tonight.
Not unfortunately, she's just so busy.
She is so busy, yeah. So she actually has to do her continuing education class tomorrow. So she'll be in an all-day class with Charlie Burke from Mass Academy of Real Estate in Braintree. So she just wanted to finish up some work upstairs tonight and thought maybe you and I could handle the show alone.
Yeah, she's leaving it in good hands, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just trying to do what we need to do because you can watch us on Facebook if you want to. You can go to my feed, which is on my page, Sharon Costa McNamara, and you should be able to find us live there.
Our South Shore neighbors, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable.
And I don't know what that is all about. I'm sorry. I don't know what I just did.
We're just doing a little bit of a playback there.
I don't know what that was. Anyways, we are live, so you can find us on Facebook. And Melissa is getting us out to all the other pages and everything. So hold on one sec. All right, you want to tell everybody what we're going to be talking about?
You are the techie one. So.
Yeah, tell everybody what we're talking about tonight. We're picking it up from where we left off last week.
Yeah, so last week we started to dabble into the different types of listings. And we talked a lot about agency. So I figured we could do a brief rundown of what agency is very, very briefly and then go right into the different style of listings. And when we're talking different styles, it's more... We're not saying anything is wrong with any of them. What we do versus what another company might do is just their own style. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of nice to know what your different options are and what the lingo means behind the different types of listings, quote unquote.
Yeah. Last week when we started this topic, we actually started talking about agency. Yeah. So do you want to just give our listeners a quick recap about agency?
So what we were initially talking about is just, I think Sharon was, and I always say that she's the best one at explaining all of this because she's been in it so long at this point. But there's a difference between designated agency, dual agency. Our office, so Boston Connect Real Estate, is a designated agent, meaning the one agent that you are working with is representing you solely. A seller's agent, a buyer's agent, and I think that gets confusing too. A lot of people don't, and this is just a little side note, a lot of people don't think if you're a buyer's agent, you can be a listing agent, and if you're a listing agent, you can be a buyer's agent. But it's just a title as to whom you're representing at that given point in time. Mm-hmm. So that's how I always describe it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Yeah, so agency is really important in the state of Massachusetts. It's something that we have to bring out. We have an agency disclosure agreement, and upon the first meeting that we have with a client, we have to bring that out.
You dropped a knowledge bomb on me last week saying that now it's via Zoom too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a new form that and that's I was wondering if something like that was ever going to come out, just given that we are doing a lot of these meetings. Not so much, we're kind of seeing it go in the other direction now, but in the height of, COVID 2020 and 2021, I mean, I didn't meet some of our clients in person until the very, very end. But it's nice to know that they're making accommodations to consider electronic meeting as a meeting.
Absolutely, because it is the first time that you talk about a house. So you just have to be careful, especially, a lot of people will go to, an open house, and they tend to spill the beans a lot when they're in those open houses, by the way. Just talk less. The person who's doing that open house is representing the seller of that house. So anything that you tell them that's personal, confidential, or financial has to, by law, be, we have to inform the seller about that. If you're represented, then of course none of that information can be shared. But let's we'll take some calls tonight as well. George is in studio, and he is at WATD in Marshfield. We're in our home studio here in Pembroke, right in Pembroke Center, across from Stop and Shop in the center. And we are on air. We have our fancy light in the window. You like that?
I was really wondering where that light was coming from, and I knew Mark had changed out the light that's above. Yeah. That we had this fancy little on air. Yeah. It's like we're in a real studio
we're in
right
a real
now.
studio right now. So it's funny that every time you hit that. So what we were going to, I forget what we were discussing right there.
Just agency.
Agency, yeah. So we'll take calls. That's what we were saying. 781-800. Yeah, we really do have a hard time doing this without Melissa, don't we? I'm like all over the place.
Because I can't keep you on track.
I know.
I've been trying for 10 years. It hasn't happened yet.
It's been one of those days for sure. 781-837-4900 if you have any questions for me and Mary regarding real estate. It doesn't have to be about this topic, but if it is, that's great. But if it isn't, that's okay. We had a great caller last week, Tom from Kingston, my good old buddy, was listening in. So, again, let's dive right in. So let's just talk about the big one, okay? So I know Bonnie from Pembroke called last week, and she won the gift card. I don't know if she came by the office because she knew what a FSBO was, for sale by owner. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh, we're gonna go backwards.
We're just gonna go right into it because you know what? We always run out of time, so we might as well save the best one for the best controversial. For that, you know what I mean, to make sure.
Yep, so when we did, the gift card and for sale by owner, so FSBO, FSBO, it's, I don't know, we're hearing something. Anyway, it's essentially what you think of. You're selling your house on your own, and you're that for sale sign that maybe you bought at Ace Rocky's Hardware, and putting it in your yard with your number on it and saying, "Hey, everybody, please call me. I'm trying to sell my house."
Yeah,
that's the most basic and simple as a for sale by owner gets, right?
Yeah, and so here's the thing. I know with low inventory, I would say that the general perception is that our job is very easy these days, and that, all they do is put a sign out there and then it just sells, which we know as real estate agents is not true. And I know you have some statistics on, how real estate agents are able to actually get you more money. I know people are trying to save the compensation, but, now we're not just real estate agents. I mean, I started 20 years ago, and I was talking to Trish and Nick Flynn, were in the office this week, discussing with them about the show and for sale by owner, and I don't know what that is. Discussing that, and Nick was like, yeah, we're not just real estate agents anymore. We're the marketers and all these other things that we have to do on top of being a real estate agent. I mean, being technologically savvy is very important right now. So we're all these other things, but I know Trish had a good example that one of her clients had seen a homeowner that was selling his own house in a town close to where we are on the South Shore.
I see. I feel like this is so incredibly vague.
Yeah.
So there was a homeowner once that was selling a house.
Yeah.
In a town that's close to us.
Yes, it was on the South Shore, and Trish called and said, my client is interested in your property. Will you be compensating a buyer's agent? And the homeowner said, if you really cared about your buyer, you would just introduce your buyer to me and let me just work with your buyer. Like, why do you have to be involved in all of this? And Trish, who we all love,
I can only imagine what she said.
Yeah. She was like, I'm just trying to make a living. This is what my full-time job is. This is what my full-time career is. With my husband, they're a team. We're just trying to do the best for our clients. And
maybe the best for your client is that for sale by owner, but Mr. For Sale by Owner, if I'm going to introduce you to my buyer, are you willing to compensate me for the time and effort that I've put into working with this buyer for the past year and a half? Want to give me his number?
Exactly. You can call him. And think about it. The time, the energy away from your family, your friends, other clients, your gas, your wear and tear on your car, driving all over the place, you're driving from
it's
here.
It's especially hard to be a buyer's agent right now.
It is so difficult. And I don't know, I just found that comment to be rude, but then I thought, well, that's the perception that a lot of people have. I'm just going to put the sign out there myself and do it myself. So,
yeah, everybody says it's so easy, so why not?
Yeah, and then, okay, so you want to put the sign in the yard, and you want her to hand over her client that she's been working with forever. So
yeah, it doesn't work that way.
So here's some of my thoughts on this. Again, you can call in 781-837-4900.
We'd love to have an intelligent debate about it.
Yes, we would. And you can say that maybe I'm wrong. You can say that maybe I'm right. But whatever. I feel as if I can. Oh, I think George is trying to call us.
So one thing that I always think of, and we do actually quite often work with for sale by owners. I think a lot of times perception is that sellers don't want to work with an agent because they don't want to pay a compensation. That's like the number one. Number one, maybe it's really easy to sell my house. Number two, I don't want to pay an agent's compensation. Number three, I know the house better than anybody, so who's going to be able to sell it better than I do? So those are all the hurdles, I guess, that we try and get over when talking about for sale by owners. What they don't realize, I think I actually found a stat that said about 40% of anybody trying to sell their house on their own is trying to avoid agent compensation. What they don't realize in essentially cutting the agent who, face it, if you're hiring a full-time agent, that's all they're doing, as Sharon was saying earlier. So all our job to do is to sit in MLS, to find you buyers, to market your property, to network to groups of people that would be interested in your property, and just so on and so on. You have a full-time job. Most people who are selling their houses on their own also have to go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week doing something else that isn't necessarily selling their house. So, which selling your house is a full-time job. It's a lot. It's very time-consuming. So on top of your already demanding life, you're going to put another demanding task on top of it. So that's probably my number one hesitation, or my number one argument, I guess, to people who are saying this is the route that I want to go. I want to sell my house on my own. I would say, are you really going to have the time to do that? Because even if you sell it in the first weekend, houses, when we say sell, there's still 30, potentially 30, 45, 60 days of transactional work.
We're just going to hop right back in. So Mary was talking about for sale by owners and the perception of sellers.
If we're taking Trish Flynn's perspective of Mr. Seller, I'm going to call you up. You're doing a for sale by owner, and I'm going to bring you a buyer. Are you willing to compensate a buyer's agent? So the number one objection that for sale by owners tend to have is that they don't want to compensate any type of agent. Most often the conversation with that seller is going to go, well, absolutely. If you bring in your buyer, I will be more than willing to compensate you. So the objection as to I don't want to work with an agent, I don't want to pay a compensation, goes right out the window. Because most for sale by owners do end up working with an agent in some type of capacity.
Yeah, I have a couple things to say about this.
Okay,
All
I
right.
took out my Invisalign. I'm just letting everybody
you
know.
sound good. And now you're not slurring. But, here's the thing. This is how I feel about, for sale by owners. And again, there are many people out there. Are you capable of doing it? Sure, 100%. Some people are like, oh, you just have to get an attorney. That's great. If you want to do it on your own, that's really up to you. But don't use real estate agents as your venue to get all the information that you need, because there's nothing more infuriating to me than that. So
what you're saying is, don't call up the real estate agent and say, hey, I'm just looking to have a market analysis on my house so I can sell it on my own.
Yeah, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
And I hate to put it that way, like, everybody who knows me knows I am very willing. I talk people out of selling their house a lot, right?
You do.
If I don't think it's a good financial decision for them, I will let them know.
And you also are very passionate.
I am very passionate.
And you're gonna get passionate.
I am. I'm getting a little frustrated right now, but I think it's just because I just want more respect for our industry, more respect for
It's a profession. It's a professional industry.
There are so many full-time agents in our area. It doesn't matter. Hey, Boston Connect, I think, is a great company. But you know what? I've worked for several other great companies, and I think that there are many great companies out there. We're very fortunate on the South Shore. We have a lot of great agents. The only difference between us is maybe the way we do things and the color of our logo, okay? Yeah. And we're friends with a lot of them. But if you're thinking about doing a for sale by owner, do your own research, do your own stuff. Because honestly, when I do an analysis for people, I'm going to your house, I'm spending an hour, maybe sometimes more, because you're asking questions throughout the process. Then I am putting together all of the comps and all of the information on getting the value of your house. Then I'm meeting with you via Zoom or in my office, reviewing all that information with you. I potentially have a good 6 hours into this or more to give you the information that you need. Now, I'm happy to do that for people who are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to sell, blah, blah, blah.
Or is it the right thing for me to be doing right now, which we've done shows on?
Yeah, exactly. But if you know in your heart of heart, I'm just going to sell it myself, but I'm going to see what the top agents in the area say the value of my house is, please be considerate.
And then I'm going to list it for 20% more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing that they don't even realize, too, is like all the sold comps that we're looking at in MLS, they have a compensation. So let's just say it's, the listing contract is 5 apples, right? Because we can't talk about for whatever. I forget what it's called. But anyways, antitrust laws. Can't discuss commissions, but I can say, let's just say it was 5 apples, right? Well, if your house sold, if it was on the market for 500 and it sold for 500, I, as a buyer's agent, think the value of your house is 500 less the 5 apples.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because you know what? That's the compensation that went to the agents, right? But, that to me is just sort of sneaky, that you're going to take that time away from my family. You're going to take that time away from my other clients. You're going to take that time away from me being sane and being able to, like, sit on the floor and play with my puppy.
Like, the things that I really love to do.
I just want to play with my puppy. But do you know what I mean?
I do, but there's also something like, so to drive home that point, there's also something to be said about, take your 6 hours, the 6 physical hours that we're saying, and we're grossly underestimating what that time frame is. But there's also something to be said about local knowledge and preparation and the advice that an agent is giving throughout the process to ultimately save their client money. Like that is truthfully the goal. As a listing agent, you're trying to sell the house for the most amount of money in the quickest amount of time that is, that's the ultimate goal.
Or whatever their timeline is.
Well, whatever is best for the seller, and vice versa for even a buyer. As a buyer's agent, you're trying to get the house for a price that is fair and reasonable to all parties. You want you want the seller to be happy because you want negotiations to go well. You want the buyer to be happy because you want them to be, happy in the house and feel as if they got, a good price for it. And they won. They got the winning bid.
Yeah.
So agents aren't like looking to make, I don't know, at least none of the agents that we work with or the agents that we are ourselves are looking to make a buck,
Yeah. I mean, no, this is our career. This is what...
Our reputation.
In our reputation, for sure. And, we all tend to have a very high moral compass, which is important.
You got me fired up.
Yeah, because it's so frustrating. So I'm thinking of a time, probably, must have been like 5 years ago. And think about it, you know what I mean? It's just like you had opened the business 5 years ago or 6 years ago at that point, you know what I mean? And, very busy here, growing the office, doing all kinds of things, spending time with other clients, have 2 kids in college, just trying to be a human, because we're working 7 days a week. Everybody else is working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they have weekends off, So any time that you're taking away from us, it's really a bummer that you would do that. So this one in particular, I remember it was in Pembroke, and it was a colonial style home, and I went in, and the person was referred to me, so we had, sort of have that immediate sort of connection type thing. Went through the whole house, did a whole analysis. As I'm going through the house, I gave staging tips because I'm a certified staging professional as well. I gave staging tips. I gave all kinds of tidbits, you know what I mean? Like, because he really gave me the impression that he was going to be listing his home with me.
Yep.
That's the part that bothers me.
Yeah.
He knew in his head that he was not. He could have shut me off. He should have said, maybe you shouldn't tell me all this, or I don't want to be wasting your time. People will say that to me. Oh, Sharon, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell. And I'll be like, no, I'm happy to do that for you.
It was sorry. Side note, it was funny. We actually had a buyer meeting here last night. And the first thing that she had said to me, she was like, well, I'm not in any rush. And I was like, oh, no, we don't have to be in any rush. And she goes, well, my parents told me that if you don't buy something, you're going to kick me to the curb. I go, no, we don't do that. That's not the truth. So we work with buyers however long it takes for them to sell houses. As long as you want to put up with me, I'm going to put up with you.
Yeah.
As long as it's a mutually beneficial relationship and we haven't driven each other crazy, we're going to find the house.
And we've become friends with so many of our clients. So she's already a friend anyways.
Sorry, it was just, that reminded me of that.
That is funny. But that's the thing that, then, the person didn't even have the courtesy. Like, I had left a couple messages, sent a note, nothing. And the next thing you know, it's, you hear through the grapevine, or you hear it on, or they try to post it on one of my Connect pages, which is hilarious. So I saw it on Pembroke Connect, and I was like, delete. Hey, sorry, I got the magic power of the button there. So, but went and did a for sale by owner. And the thing that irritated me the most was the pictures, all the staging tips I gave.
Yeah.
Took on every single one of them. Now, I was talking to Michelle. Michelle Fay is one of our full-time agents here at Boston Connect Real Estate. I was talking to her today, and she had a buyer client that she was showing. She said the towns. If
You're like, where is that?
If you gave me $100, I wouldn't have never been able to tell you they were actually towns in Massachusetts. And this is how far she had gone. But they decided to put their search on hold, and they sent her a gift card to a restaurant.
Nice.
Classy. Anyways, I did get fired up there. If you want to sort of calm down my nerves, or if you want to sort of have, a little debate and discussion about this, I'm happy to do so. 781-837-4900, or you can connect with us on Facebook. Well, really can't, because I can't see my phone.
Well, I think so on that. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I didn't know where your phone was. On that, I think there are different types of for sale by owners, right? So there's the for sale by owners that maybe they have a friend of a friend who's in real estate or sold real estate at one point in time, and they're getting advice. And they're like, hey, I'm going to walk and talk you through it. That instance, I can tell you the real estate industry is ever changing. So if they're not in it 100%, even, I'm not saying anything about part-time agents, but there is a difference between doing this part-time and doing it full-time.
100%.
It's just, it can be all-consuming. Like you were saying, we're working 7 days a week. And but we're happy to. I'm happy to show houses on Saturdays and Sundays.
But what about like when you're in a transaction with somebody and they're the buyer's agent, let's just say, and it's like, oh, well, I'm all the way up in Canton, and I work from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and I don't really want to get in the traffic afterwards. So would you mind doing, would you mind me picking up the check, or would you mind my client dropping off the check? Would you mind doing all the work? Do you mind if I don't go to the home inspection? Then they're not doing any of the work. And again, how is that loyalty to your client? your fiduciary responsibility is to your buyer.
Well, that's why I think the interview process with any agent should be extensive. If that's the route, and I feel like with some of your for sale by owner clients, they have a bad taste in their mouth from agents. Something happened at some given point in time that makes them feel as if there's not integrity potentially behind them, or that
used car salesman.
Yeah, and or that their time isn't being honored. Maybe the client's time isn't being honored, or the responsiveness isn't what they want. So they kind of go the route of like, hey, it's so easy. One, I can do it myself, and two, I don't want to go through that again. So interviewing multiple agents and or your agents is really important.
I'd love to know the
so
history.
Don't get that.
Yeah, I'd love to know the history of real estate agents, because in all reality, it is one of the biggest financial decisions that a human is going to. By the way, it's tough being a human. I discussed this with my mother the other day as I was cooking. It's
tough being a human.
It is. Just the food chopping process and making dinner. Anyways, but at what point, like, when did things change? Like, it's the biggest financial decision that anybody's going to make potentially in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Buying a house, selling a house, just all kinds of things, and I don't understand why our profession isn't taken more seriously.
Well,
when did it go awry?
I can't tell you when it went awry, but I think some people probably feel as if it is licensing, right? Is licensing really lax and really easy? Can anybody get their real estate license?
Yeah, anybody can, and I think it should be tougher.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Or is it, you don't, is it that salesman aspect? So you got your shoe salesman, you got your car salesman, and we're basically house salesmen. So it's that preconceived notion of what it is, rather than, and I loved this, even when I started with Boston Connect Real Estate, you always called us real estate advisors, and it's not real estate salespersons, even though that's what we would really be called. We have a sales license or a broker's license. It's this process, both buying and selling, is really about advising. And especially, like, I think about somebody like you with the local knowledge of Pembroke and talking about all of the research and the time and energy you spent doing comparable market analysis for different people. I can talk so much better. And all the time that you spend. But there's been many a time where I'm hearing you call town hall to say, all right, something doesn't seem right about this. I want to dig a little bit further, so that I'm making sure that I'm prepping my client for either a best case scenario or a worst case scenario. Like, I'd rather tackle this hurdle. It happens with septic systems all the time.
All the time.
And that's something that and I know we're harping on for sale by owners, and it's not that, like, we're saying, oh, they're all evil. No, they're not. It's just how they're handled. And I do, even as a buyer's agent, I get weary when I have a buyer who wants to see a for sale by owner. I was like, expect this to be emotional.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make it happen, but expect that it's going to be a lot more emotional than if I had another real estate agent on the other side that
takes out the emotion,
just removes themselves and kind of sets. Because truthfully, I guess, look at us as the people who set the tone for how the transaction is going to go. If you react super, you go to home inspection with your buyer client and you're running through being like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that they did this. Then your client's going to feel that anxiety and do the same thing. And then if you as a seller's agent go to your seller and say, hey, they were super rude during the home inspection. They did this, they have no idea what they're talking about. How's your client going to react?
Yep. Well, definitely. That should be a whole show in itself, how the real estate agent sets the tone.
This show took on a different meaning because
we know, as it did last week too. But I think that, we are talking a lot right now about for sale by owner. And again, if you want to do it, that's up to you. But I know that we have a value, and you just hit upon, I would say the most important one is the emotional aspect of it. We take out the emotions. My job is very clear and simple to me when I'm a listing agent, is I have to get you the most amount of money in the time period that works for you with the best conditions. So that's what we're working towards. Now, we had a couple situations last year and the year before where a couple people were thinking about doing a for sale by owner. So I said, you know what, your father-in-law, your dad, love him to pieces. This was in Halifax, the one I'm thinking of. And I said, all right, well, what do you think the value of your house is? And I generally don't even ask people that, and gave me a number. And I said, okay, let's just say it's 500. I was like, all right, great. somebody comes to you directly and says, hey, I'm willing to give you $525. I said, would you accept that offer? And he's like, yeah, right away. Like, no brainer. And I was like, great. I was like, because I just had a situation where we had a listing. It was on for $500. The first offer that we got was $525, and we held all offers until a certain time period. And then we had multiple offers, and it ended up going for $575. So I just made you $50,000 by sitting here.
Yeah. So you want to do a for sale by owner so you could save on the compensation, but I just proved to you that I can make you more money just by having the strategy that I had, right?
Exactly.
Just by doing what you do every day. But that's a really good point too. So even in that scenario, I think one thing that people, so say a for sale by owner does the same thing. They say, okay, we're not going to take the first offer. We're actually going to hold everything until the open house, and we're going to set an offer deadline. Our jobs are not only to get multiple offers, right? It's to review the contracts. And by no means are we attorneys. However, especially in 2021, and I'm going to predict going into 2022, it became about conditions and terms.
Yep.
And you hit it on the head a little earlier, saying it's not just about getting the most amount of money in the time frame that you want, but also the one that has the best conditions, because sometimes the highest offer isn't the best offer. So if you're not doing that every day, you could potentially put yourself in a situation that's not all that great for you.
And too, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to hire an attorney. But P.S., we love real estate attorneys, okay?
Emmanuel called me earlier.
We love Emmanuel if he's listening from Stiles' office, Mark Stiles. The whole crew over there is wonderful. We have lots of great attorneys in the area. If they're going to do a transaction for you, they're not going to be doing this negotiating and looking into things the way we did. So last year we got that one house. I mean, every house had multiple offers, but one in particular had 40 offers. One of the offers was $225,000 over asking. It had no home sale contingency. It had
no home inspection.
No home inspection, no mortgage contingency. Well, all the research I do, now we went through 40 offers. We do a complete spreadsheet. We're looking at their list price to sale price ratio. We're looking at their loan to value ratio. We're looking at everything to see who is the best buyer for this house. And this one in particular sticks in my head because when I called the agent, the response was, oh, you called me at dinner. And I was like, would you like me to call you back? Like, I'm calling about an offer. And I asked her, okay, so your client doesn't have anything to sell. And nope, nothing to sell. And I was like, well, I happened to do a little research and I noticed that your client's house, because their address is on the contract and on their check. When I went into MLS, when I was investigating all the 40 offers, I noticed that their house is on the market in Dorchester and currently under agreement. Do they need that sale to go through in order to purchase this house? $225,000 over asking. No, they don't have to. I said, okay, then great. You put down 5%, and I would like a 10% deposit for P&S. So if anything happens to that sale, you're going to 10% if you're lying to me right now. And she said, well, you better call the loan officer. Called the loan officer. He's going back and forth. He was at a party, so I was texting him, and then he ghosted me. And then the next morning he called me, and he's like, listen, here's the truth. They have to sell that house in order to go forward. They have to sell it. Now, why am I taking the risk when I have another offer that was like $45,000 less, but was putting down more money, had no home sale contingency.
Also had no home inspection.
No home inspection. And my client was still making $200,000 more.
And it was a much more secure offer.
Yeah. And our clients were great. They were like 100, whatever you say. But those are the things that we're really dissecting everything because I've been doing this for 21 years. Yeah. And I can always tell when someone's lying to me.
You can. You do. You're like, something's fishy.
I have a spidey senses. Well, we're just about 7 minutes of 7 already, so we're going to be ending our show pretty soon here. We were talking tonight about different types of listing agreements. We've really talked about for sale by owner tonight.
We got into the emotional aspect of for sale by owner.
I know. We might as well just stay on this topic because we'll talk maybe a couple other things, unless you wanted to say, are there other things that you can think of, like what are the benefits of having a real estate agent versus trying to do it yourself? So one we discussed was we take the emotional out of it. Two, we're much better. This is our job is negotiating.
Yep. Have the time, energy, and skill set to be doing this full time. So you have a full time representative. Like, I don't know. I think I equate it to like you wouldn't. Most people who've never done their nails before don't like try and put acrylics on and rip your nail beds off.
I know.
Or like.
Well, the other thing I think we're good at.
Be a race car driver.
No.
You'd probably practice.
No.
And you wouldn't just get on stage in front of. You wouldn't just show up to Gillette Stadium. I'm gonna sore subject. You wouldn't just Tom Brady it. No. You practice. You go to college.
Absolutely. But one of the things too is when we go through your house at the beginning, a lot of times we're picking up on different things. We're not home inspectors certainly, but we are looking for different defects in your house. So we're sort of prepared ahead of time too. So we have a way of ignoring the flaws. The exposure to legal risks. I mean, there are things that you can and cannot say, I know, we hear it all the time.
we talk about it, fair housing laws. And we should probably do a whole show on fair housing and what it means and how stringent it is, and especially in the state of Massachusetts. People got to remember, we are an attorney-driven state. Yeah. So,
and a tenant state. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're better at that stuff than I am.
Yeah. Well, we
tenant landlord.
We can ask some people to come on with us, and we can talk about fair housing. Yep. But I think just one of the other things I want to talk about is off-market listings, because this is what brought up this topic. Okay. So, we've been hearing from our agents how frustrating it is right now. So this is how I feel. Personal. This is Sharon talking. That I've been through many markets. So if you think about it, I've been in 21 years. So I've seen 2 10-year swings, right? Because everything happens every 10 years, right? Desperate people do desperate things in desperate times. Yes. Okay. And right now, with low inventory, we're hearing more and more about, I have an off-market listing. I have an off-market listing. Oh, don't use that agent because I have more access to off-market listings in my area. If you want to get into this town, you should be using me as your agent because I have off-market listings. Kabush, right? Kabush. Kabush. I want to kabush that. Because the best way for you, and I want you to talk to your perspective as a buyer's agent. I'm letting you know, as a very strong listing agent and Mary, a very strong buyer's agent, we have very clear thoughts on this. As a seller, you should be on the market. And I know that there's confidentiality and there are other things that you want to sort of keep a secret. And there are definitely ways to do that. But the best way for you to get the best offer, whether it's money, terms, condition, and all of that, is to have your house listed to the most amount of people, to the multiple listing service that is statewide, not a company owned, a single one, where just your agent, one agents from one firm are looking at it. That's how I feel if more people want this house, then you have a better opportunity of having a better array of candidates to choose from. We don't want to get you to almost being able to close on the property and then, guess what? We can't.
Well, yeah, it's like when you go to a car dealership, and do you only a Chevy? No, you probably test drive a Nissan or a Toyota or I don't know. I'm bad with cars, but you go to multiple different places when you're car shopping. Yeah. So why would you not shop for your buyer?
Exactly.
To make sure that you're getting the best buyer for you that suits your needs.
And when you're on the multiple listing service, it's the internet. Okay. So I said this last week, we're a boutique. We're a small firm, but great things come in small packages, right? They sure do. And we're in all the same places as, the big box firms. And I don't dislike those firms, by the way. They're great. I hope if I have a listing, they have a buyer. It's as simple as that. Yep. But we are nationwide as well. So once we put that listing out there, we are really promoting and marketing to everybody out there. And the more people that have eyes on your house, the better it is. How do you feel from a buyer perspective if I say, hey, listen, I have an opportunity for you and I have an off-market listing, but if you want it, you really have to make it worth a while. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think you're putting yourself between a rock and a hard place.
As a buyer.
As a buyer, I do, because there is no real negotiation to be had. It's seller saying, all right, I either want this and you're going to make me so motivated that you're going to give me even more than that, just because and then at that point it's all emotional. Yep. So you're just hyper driven off of not wanting to be in this rat race anymore, truthfully. Yep. And it can cause you to make some really bad decisions. And so I'm just saying, from a buyer's perspective, it's giving the seller all of the control and all of the negotiation power from there on out.
Yep.
So
you're negotiating against yourself.
100%.
Yeah. So if the seller is like, oh, I'm going to put the house on the market for $500, but I know I'll probably get multiple offers. You don't know that.
Yeah, you're like, what is the max? Do you want $525? You want $550? You want $575? Yeah. What do I have to do to get
Make it worth my while.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Make it worth my while not to put this house on the market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be forced into a corner by greed. Other people's greed.
That.
Yeah, right? Don't. You can't be forced into, let's write that down. Don't be forced into a corner because of somebody else's greed.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. We'll find you the house, the right house for you at the right time.
I like that. Right. That was very well said, Sharon McNamara.
The right size for you at the right time. We just did a bunch of commercials on that. So anyways, thanks for tonight. That's our show. Yeah. We have paper all over the place and we talked about one thing. So, but you can listen to all of our past shows on our podcast, which is talkrealestateroundtable.com, or any of your podcast apps. You can get us on Spotify, Apple, all those great places. You can just say, Alexa, play Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and you will hear us. If you have any ideas for our show, just let us know, 781-826-8000. You can also go to bostonconnect.com, find us on all of your social media feeds. That's Instagram and Twitter and all those Facebooks. You can find us. So we hope you have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.